I think you might notice a little bit of a different voice right now leading you off. That is because Yehuda, the original guest star.
You're not a guest. You're one of us. We have to be switching our whole name because of you.
No, don't give away our secrets.
But you knew, like, the Ravens need one touchdown. Like, the Broncos might score one more field. So if you get one more touchdown,
Yeah, you went 10-9 call it a
you can win 10-9.
I'm going to go with the Commanders as well, just because it's too much of a question mark over there under center for the.
I can't believe you saw that right now.
That's asinine. You're crazy.
He's got
You're
the
crazy.
full package. He's
No
got
way.
the speed.
I don't care.
Jump ball.
No way. I can't even. It's hard to even look at you right now when you say something like that. That's crazy. Okay. And guess what? In basketball, you use a basketball. In football, you use a football.
We got the most intriguing matchup of the weekend, Bills-Steelers. Now, this gives me very similar vibes, guys. To 2 years ago, Steelers needed a crazy scenario to make it. Same thing as this year, right? They needed some sort of scenario to make it. Week 18, it was the first 18-week season, Big Ben's last year of his career. They needed the Colts to lose to the Jaguars. Jaguars fans came with their bags over their heads. We all remember that one, right? Ironic, sort of, that the Jaguars helped the Steelers get in by winning that year and helped them by losing this year. So, and the Jaguars somehow won that game, and the Steelers snuck in barely because the Chargers and Raiders almost tied. That was that ridiculous Week 18. That was so much fun to sit back and watch. Anyway, that was that crazy Week 18. And this is sort of a similar thing. They needed some help. The Jaguars somehow lost to the Titans. Like, who would, did not a lot of people predict that coming. And here they are sneaking in somehow another winning season, 10-7. And that year they played the Chiefs, the two seed. They were the second best team in the AFC that year. And we were all looking at it like they were like 12-point underdogs, and we're like, it makes sense, right? I mean, the Steelers aren't good. They're just not good. They can't create any big plays this year. I don't even know how they're winning, how they won 9 games. It didn't really make any sense. It's sort of the same thing this year, right? Like, you were looking at yourself when the Steelers were 7-4. We're like, why? Why are the Steelers 7-4? I can't really put my fingers around it. Kenny Pickett's not playing well. The run game's horrible, right? Recently, it's been getting better, but up until that point, the run game is horrible. Yeah, you got TJ Watt, you got Highsmith, you got some players there, but Joey Porter's coming on. But I mean, what? You're 7-4, and then they had the 3-game losing streak, and then we're like, oh, fine, okay, this makes sense, right? Like, okay, we didn't expect them to lose to the Cardinals and Patriots in 4 days at home, but that's besides the point. Okay, 7-7, so what do we expect the Steelers to be? And then they come out, and Mason Rudolph gives this team a whole new life. It's like Joe Flacco and Mason Rudolph taking over the AFC North all of a sudden. Like, what's happening? What's happening here? Najee Harris is breaking tackles. Like, it's not even like the Steelers' run blocking got that much better. Najee Harris is just like breaking 15 tackles a game. They're getting Jalen Warren out in space. They're finally throwing to George Pickens in ways other than back shoulder fades. It's just like, what's happening to the Steelers' offense? And here they go up against the Buffalo Bills, the big-time Buffalo Bills. And
Matt Canada.
Matt Canada, you're right. You can't forget about Canada in this whole sequence of events. And here they go. It's the Buffalo Bills. This is such a similar thing. It's such a similar thing to 2 years ago, right? It's like nobody expects them to win this game. The Bills are one of the best teams in football, right? Josh Allen's been, contrary to what people thought, he's second in the league in big-time throws. And the mistakes have been down this year. And that's something people haven't been discussing with Josh Allen. It's not just that the big plays are still there, which they always are. There's a little less of a Josh Allen experience this year, right? We have a lot of big plays, not as many mistakes. They're there, but not as many mistakes as he had in the past. He's 10th in the league in turnover-worthy plays, which is not so bad, especially considering he's
turnovers, not turnover-worthy plays.
Well, no, turnover-worthy plays counts fumbles, so that's total. Total. That would be turnovers you would blame on him personally.
Yeah,
it's fumbles and interceptions. So interceptions doesn't mean anything. Interceptions, it could be a million different things. I mean, we saw in the Sunday night game where it can go both ways, right? In the Sunday night game against the Dolphins, where he threw the ball, it went off the guy's helmet, and what's his name caught it. The 16 caught it, in the end zone, and that's going to be considered a Josh Allen touchdown pass. But we all know that's not a Josh Allen touchdown pass, right? That's just a lucky bounce of the ball, and the receiver made a great play. So for him to be 10th in the league in turnover-worthy plays, also be second in the league in big-time throws, and have the best big-time throw rate in the league is actually it's a big improvement over past years. Normally he's number 1 in both those stats, or number 2. For him to be 10-2 is a much improvement. So I think, we're still getting somewhat of the Josh Allen experience. Don't get me wrong. We're still getting the big plays and the volatile plays. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, the Steelers have run it. I think this is probably the worst case scenario for the Steelers because yes, they snuck in here. Yes, they got into the playoffs somehow. Yes, Rudolph is playing pretty well. And the run game has been revived. But T.J. Watt's out this week, and they're running up against one. In my opinion, I've been saying all year, even when they were 5-5, the Bills are a top 5 team in football. On both sides of the ball, they're a little banged up, but this is the worst case scenario for the Steelers. If you were going to bump it to any team in the AFC other than the Ravens, the last team you want is the Bills, and that's exactly what's happening with the Steelers. And I think Tomlin's fun is gonna end Sunday afternoon, guys. That's what I think. But we'll get your take on this as well. So I've been discussing this long enough. What do you think, Yehuda?
Yeah, I love your explanation that you gave for like comparing it to the Steelers of 2021, and I thought that was very, very well articulated and very good example.
Thank you.
And it gives me so much simcha, gives me so much joy as a Ravens fan that the Steelers love to say, "Oh, they're 2-0 against us. Oh, we just beat you. We just beat your backups. Oh my God, we own you. We swept you. Look at that. Lamar Jackson can't beat the Steelers." And then every year, you sneak in as the 7 seed, get walloped by the 2 seed. And listen, they can make me eat my words by Sunday, where somehow their defense without T.J. Watt, who's the heart and soul of their team, who also has never won a playoff game. They love to talk about Lamar's playoff record, but T.J. Watt, who's so good, and he's so much better than Myles Garrett, and he's the best player ever, he's the best pass rusher ever, he's never won a playoff game in his career. He's still not going to win a playoff game in his career this season because they're going to be one and done, eliminated before he's able to make it back because he unfortunately had that knee injury. But this is the standard. The standard is the standard. As Mike Tomlin says, they're going to BS their way to a winning record. And Tomlin's such a good coach. He's never had a losing record, but they're never in position to make a Super Bowl. They're going to win 10 games. They'll be pushed a little too far to be in the QB sweepstakes for the tankathon for the really, really sucky teams. But they're not good enough to actually play for a Super Bowl because they can never get that quarterback, because they're such a consistent organization that is so committed to not tanking and just consistently being average and middling. And this is the worst place to be in the NFL. And it just makes me so happy to see, as a Ravens fan, that they are going to be continuing in this cycle of despair and mediocrity. Because, like, the thing I will give to the Steelers fans is, they still believe they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So
they really do. It's crazy. They really do. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. They really, first of all, out of all the 14 teams in the NFL in the playoffs right now, they obviously have the worst quarter. It's not. I don't even think that's no. Yeah. They obviously have the worst quarterback. They have the worst team of all the 14 teams in the playoffs
so
right now, right?
And they genuinely believe that.
It's always golf.
So good for them. Whatever. I would like whatever they're smoking. But it's awesome.
No, that's not a Pittsburgh thing.
Yeah, it's so awesome for me to see as a Ravens fan. Obviously, you can tell I'm not biased at all. But what is your plan here? What are you guys doing long term? You want to keep winning 10 games and playing Mason Rudolph and get blown out by the Bills? Yes. Obviously, yeah, that's what I want to do. But whatever, I see a rival do that. Sure. Go for it. Knock yourself out.
Love it, Yehuda.
So unless the Ravens, listen, I'll tell you like this. So you mentioned this as well. If the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl this year, it does matter that they swept. It does. I know it doesn't really matter, but when you're looking at it and you're looking down in 5-10 years from now, you're gonna be like, oh, they swept them.
Oh, really? And you know when else they swept them? 3 years ago. You know when else they swept them? 4 years ago. The Ravens are sitting at 13-4 now. You think we care?
Yeah.
No, of course we don't care. We're talking about it, but in the long run, there is something to beating your division rival. Yes, you don't put your starters out in Week 18 when you've clinched the 1 seed.
Yeah. Just
to beat your rival. Yes, I'm not saying go out. You definitely, there is something to it, especially for fans. So yes, for Steelers fans to be sitting here now and smack talking, yes, because they're just delusional. I don't know if they're more delusional than Cowboys fans, but it's very delusional. It's very delusional.
Yeah.
I feel I don't even feel bad. That's the best part. I don't feel bad. Like
Yeah.
I don't.
They've
You know
won
what?
6 Super Bowls. There's nothing to feel bad about. I mean,
No, I
Yeah.
don't feel bad. Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, but they've only they did win two unless I get. I'm just sorry. Anyway, the other thing with this game, back to this game though. Buffalo Bills are one of the hot, or might be the hottest team in football when it comes to just winning games. I mean, the Ravens are obviously the best team, but the Bills are just riding. The Texans and the Browns are also, but the Bills are just they're hot. They whatever it takes. Yes, they like to play games close, but like they figure it out. That 2 minute drill with Josh Allen, it's the most beautiful thing I've seen ever. It's so beautiful.
it is. Yeah. Now that's the thing. It's like if the Steelers would have snuck in and played, even if they played the Chiefs, I mean, we're still probably seeing the same result. But like, just the Bills. I mean, like if they win this game, I mean, this would be one of the big upsets in a while.
Yes.
In a while.
Yes.
You know.
I'm very happy that the Bills won because I genuinely think that if the Dolphins would have won, the Steelers would have had a much better chance against them. So that would have been annoying.
Well,
If
they would have
then
played against the Chiefs if the Dolphins would have won.
No, we're locked into the 3 seed. The Dolphins.
Right, and the Steelers would have been 6 because they have a tiebreaker with the Bills.
Oh, you're saying good. So that would have been better because that would have literally just been a rematch of 2021 then, or a redo of 2021. Like them not even having TJ Watt this week. Like, come on, guys.
I know. I don't see how this. I don't see a route for the Steelers to win. I really don't. Like, yes, their run game's been much better, and that might continue against the Bills. Like, I'm not against that, but I mean, it's already difficult enough to defend Josh Allen. He improvises so well, even when your pass rush is doing everything perfectly. And they've been able to create pass rush from other players this year outside of TJ Watt. Granted, but it's not even. I mean, you can't even compare. He's the guy. He's the glue that puts it all together. Even with TJ Watt, we're obviously we're looking at the Bills as 8-point favorites. Now that out TJ Watt, that's probably why they're 10-point favorites. So, I mean,
yeah.
It's just tough.
Yep.
It's tough to see a route for the Steelers to win here. It really is. I mean, anything can happen. It's the NFL, but it really is tough to see, guys. Okay, so let's move on to the NFC. Wow, we spent a lot of time in the AFC. Well, it makes sense, right? We're a little better equipped in the NFC.
Predictions. Rocky skip predictions.
I don't even think we need to do it at this point.
Yeah.
We got Bills, right? Bills sweep.
The Steelers, we know.
Obviously, right. Pittsburgh, and I'm taking
never know
money.
what
Pittsburgh money
Tyson
line.
Icy is gonna pick. You never know what I had up my sleeve.
How about this? How about this?
If it goes to overtime, I'll tell you this: if it goes to overtime, the Steelers are winning.
Mason Rudolph is going to lead the game-winning drive.
That's an interesting prediction. He's
going to throw a slant to Pickens, and somehow he's going to take it to the house, and then we're all like, "Oh, well, if Josh Allen had a chance, he would have had a chance."
No money. No money line. Okay, Bills by 10. Over under. What do you think, Meisty?
Bills by 40.
I was here going over. You also here going over?
I would take Bills minus 10.
I really don't think so. I
don't either.
So.
I think the Steelers will make it close at the end, but not really.
It Bills by 8.
Bills by 8 you got? I think the Bills will win by 10.
I think Bills by 13 or so.
Okay, fine. There we go. There we have it for the predictions. All right, let's go to the NFC. We got a big storyline on Sunday afternoon. McCarthy going to his former team. That's the storyline. By the way, you create storylines out of nothing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it is a storyline. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty cool, but it's just funny. Like, wow, the NFL script writers, McCarthy going to his former team, Stafford and Goff. There's at least 1 or 2 storylines in most wild card weekend, especially now with 6 games, but it's funny to watch. Anyway, so McCarthy going to his former team. The Cowboys have been playing great football. They really have been. I mean, you take away their losses this year, right? Their 5 losses this year, and now granted, it's like take away their 5 losses this year. But if you do take away their 5 losses this year, they look like one of the best teams in football, right? One of the most high-flying offenses in football. There's probably no connection more dominant this year than Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb, right? The Dak Prescott's been playing. It's the best season of his career, and it's not particularly close if you look at the numbers. It really isn't. And I still think he should be in consideration for MVP. I think he's got to be in the top 5 MVP candidates this year, no question, but probably top 3. He's really been playing really well. I'm not a big Dak Prescott fan because I don't think what we've seen from Dak Prescott this year is what he is. I think this is an anomaly in terms of the rest of his career. But he's been playing this well, guys. So how do we think it's going to play out on the field, Meisty?
Wow. I think this is like the most lamest game ever. No one cares to watch the Cowboys and the Packers ever play. I think the Cowboys are like one of those teams that like NFL feeds them like the correct schedule so that they can like finagle their way into the playoffs. And the Eagles pooped it away. The Cowboys should be sitting on the road right now somewhere.
Yeah.
I understand that, like, yes, they are 12-5, but their losses are so. And you mentioned that, like, but their losses are so ugly. It's like if they even, and like I don't trust Dak Prescott to show up and play basketball. Like, I'm just gonna say basketball. I don't trust him to show up and play good football. I don't. I can't trust a guy like that. And if they get lucky because like you're playing the Packers, like you're gonna get crushed the next game. And like as you says, they don't lose at home. So like I don't trust the Cowboys. I don't trust the.
I mean, like you said, Rocky, that the Dak to CD connection is awesome. They definitely were missing a run game. Like we thought Tony Pollard would bring them that new element that CD was lacking this past year, but I think that injury against the Niners last year really messed with his knee and really did not give him that chance to fully be the guy and break out this year. So I think it really went all on Dak Prescott's shoulders, and he had to take over as the engine of the offense, and it worked most of the time. And like Micey said, the Cowboys should be sitting on the road in at some NFC South team, which ended up being the Bucks. Should be going down to Tampa to play them, like literally just a rematch of last year without Tom Brady. But the Eagles pooped it away, and now the Cowboys, as a home team and as the 2 seed, will host at least 2 playoff games, and potentially even host the NFC Championship if there's an upset down the road. And they're just so much better at home. They did get a little lucky against the Lions. Obviously, we all remember that, and that whole snafu with the refs and the reporting and everything. They probably should have lost that game. But they are much better at home, and they destroyed the Eagles the week after the Eagles played the Niners, the week after the Eagles were broken by the Niners. But they showed that they can put up a ton of points. They destroyed the Commanders. They dropped 41 on Seattle, even when the Cowboys defense decided not to show up. And speaking of defenses not showing up, the Packers defense, didn't show up all season, save for a few weeks. These past couple weeks, they've been playing a little better, and the Packers have been able to win some games. But I do love the storyline with McCarthy's playing his former team, but Jordan Love also in his first playoff game, like C.J. Stroud, even though Jordan Love's not a rookie, but a lot of the guys on the Packers are rookies. A lot of their skill position guys are young guys, or rookies, or second-year guys, and it's going to be a lot of pressure going into a hostile environment in Jerry's world in Dallas with those rabid, delusional fans, as Morty would say and Micey would say. But I mean, I think they are delusional to think that they have a chance against the elite of elite. The team that's not playing this weekend in the NFC, that has a bye this weekend. But every other team, I think they have a good chance and a good shot against. And again, playing at home, I think the bad Packers defense shows up, and I think the Cowboys can jump out to an early lead. Especially with CD, they move him around so much. They get him in such good situations and in the slot and everything. He's such an elite player, and like he can get mismatches anywhere. He's so awesome. He's so good. And he just take advantage of that defense. And then once they get a lead, they start pressuring Jordan Love with that ferocious pass rush. And they get in his head. They get on him. They get after him. And the Cowboys, I think, cruise to a fairly easy victory. But if it is close, and if the Packers do keep it close, we know how much McCarthy loves to mess up a nice close game with some weird clock management, some poor coaching that any kid who's played a lot of Madden knows how to manage better than him. Like,
that's me.
People, yeah, like you, right? People genuinely need to play Madden to practice these situations, and they say that like these younger coaches who grew up playing Madden and just practicing these situations over and over again, like they're better at it because
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah. like obviously it's not the same as doing it in real life, standing there and you're the guy versus the video game controller. You can see everything and stuff, but it just helps you practice, get you in that mindset. So if it's close, I could see some issues happening, some McCarthy issues, but I don't think it'll be particularly close.
Yeah, listen, well, the Jordan Love thing is still, it's a fascinating run, right? You come into the year and Rodgers is gone. Who's going to take over? Well, I got Jaden Reed for you. I got, how do you, Dontavian Wicks, right? I have Romeo Dobbs. I have Christian Watson. It's like, okay, that's what you're giving me, right? And he's done a good job with them. He really has. They've turned into a pretty good receiving core. This is the same receiving core last year that we were bailing Rodgers out for because of the lack of talent. Now, granted, they added Jaden Reed, and he's been a big part of that team, don't get me wrong, but it's a very similar receiving core, at least, to the one that last year we were bailing Rodgers out. And this is the one that Jordan Love has actually had a pretty darn good year with, and pretty good rapport with some of these players. So I've been impressed by that, but I'm going to have to agree with you there. I think they're going to be outmatched here. Cowboys have a hard time winning in the playoffs, and it's really, I don't even know why. A lot of times they come to the playoffs and they actually, they've got one of the better rosters in football. And now they've got one of the hotter quarterbacks in football, one of the best receivers in football. But I can't see them losing over here to the Packers. I mean, the Packers, I think Jordan Love continues the trajectory. We could be talking about Packers Cowboys maybe next year and the Packers being favored by a couple points. But as far as this year is concerned, I think they're outmatched. The Cowboys have a much better roster all around. Yeah, so I'm with you. I think they're outmatched. So I'm going with the Cowboys just straight up. And Yehuda, you're going with the Cowboys also. And Meisty, you got the Packers, I'm assuming.
And
I have a Packers.
Anyone playing
I
it?
have to have the Packers.
You're taking the Packers?
Yeah.
All right,
Are you going to do it? You're going to do it?
Taking the Packers. I don't know. I mean, listen, I wouldn't put money on it.
Baby.
I mean, I would. Of course I would. Yes, I would.
7.5.
Yes, I would.
7.5. 7.5. We're talking about
7.5 for sure. 7.5 for sure. I could buy. I could buy the 7.5. To say straight up, that's very hard to do. But listen, all it takes is that Dak Prescott to look like he did against the Cardinals, or he just doesn't show up, or he just does something so stupid, and you're like, or he just falls to the pressure again and again and again.
Other than that Cardinals game against average competition, Dak Prescott's feasted on that this year.
I get it, but the Packers aren't. I mean, yes, they're feastable, but they're somehow in the playoffs. So it's a new season. Every time we get to a new season, Dak Prescott's not there.
I'm intrigued. Listen, I'm intrigued by this matchup. I'm intrigued to see what Jordan Love does in his first playoff game. I think he's going to have a good career so far based off what we've seen from him. But yeah, it's just a matter of being outmatched. So I guess we got to pick an upset somewhere down the line, right? The biggest lines of the week are obviously the Bills and the Cowboys. And if one of those two teams win, I think we'd all be shocked. But probably Packers more likely. The 2-7 matchups, which makes sense. Okay, now this is personally, I love this game, and it has nothing to do with the narrative. Stafford going back to Detroit, Goff going back to... I don't give a darn. I don't give a darn. It's a good game. I think that Stafford, I gotta say, guys, I was wrong about the Rams. I really thought that the Rams went all out to win the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and they got Von Miller midway through the season, signed OBJ, traded for Stafford, traded a lot for Stafford, and I'm like, you got to win the Super Bowl this year because after this you're going to stink for a while, and they did. Credit. And I'm like, listen, even if they do stink for a while, that's fine. You did what you needed to do, right? You'll sacrifice the Super Bowl to not be good for 5 years. I'm okay with that, right? But that was a reality that I saw coming for the Rams. And they did stink, but all of a sudden they're right back at it. I mean, okay, granted, now they got a little help by getting the biggest steal of the draft. Puka Nacua this year, guys. I mean, talk about volume. 7th most targets in the league, 8th most receptions in the league, and I think he's 7th in receiving yards. I think this guy has, I believe, 8 100-yard receiving games this year. Out of 17 games, 8. Ridiculous number. Incredible volume on a team. Granted, Cooper Kupp, he's missed about 12 games in the last 2 years. So obviously that's given him an opportunity. And Tutu Atwell got injured early in the year. But I mean, gosh darn, it's just been unbelievable to watch this man come out of nowhere and be like the replacement for Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp will be playing this weekend. So, we're going to have Puka Nacua, who's like the new young Cooper Kupp. We're going to have the original Cooper Kupp going up against the feisty Lions, 12 wins, best season in franchise history pretty much. This is great. I love it. I love it. And the Lions are a great team. It's high-flying offenses. The Rams have no defensive talent pretty much outside of Aaron Donald, but that's besides the point. It's a high-flying offenses, and I'm very much I think it's going to be a fun game. I don't care about Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. I just think this is a good matchup. I don't know. Am I wrong for thinking that?
I'm like afraid because this sets up as like a 54-51, like that Monday Night Football game. Yeah, Jared Goff game. This, like you said, I'm so happy they made the Sunday Night Football. It was a great call, and they did a good job scheduling this. And I do love the narrative of Stafford going back for the first time, Jared Goofy going back for the first.
Jared Goofy.
Shout out Jared Goofy for that touchdown drive that he led against the Cowboys to only throw to Pepper Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta with targets, and then Amon-Ra to score.
Lost me a Super Bowl. This lost me. Why do you have to juice? I don't know.
I'm gonna beat Meisty in the Super Bowl. So shout out Jared Goff right there. That was Jared Goff. That was Jared Goofy. He was playing like Jared Goofy all game until that drive. That was Jared Goff. But yeah, like this offense and this team love Dan Campbell and their mindset and how they're rallying the whole city. They're literally dropping the city in homicides because everyone wants to watch the Lions, and everyone's so happy that the city of Detroit has its lowest homicide rate since the 60s.
Is that a real thing?
That's real.
That is unbelievable. There's got to be a correlation there. There's got to be.
The same thing in Baltimore. We have the same thing here in Baltimore. It's the craziest.
Yeah, but
thing.
the Ravens won the Super Bowl 10 years ago.
We have the same thing now. We have the same thing in the summers with the Orioles. This past year was one of our lowest.
Wait, time out. Detroit, I understand. The Lions haven't been good in 17 decades. The Ravens won the Super Bowl 10 years ago. And they had the best record in football 3 years ago.
This past summer, the Orioles.
But also, the Orioles.
The Orioles also with Buck Showalter had that. I'm saying this is not the first time.
Yeah.
Suddenly now. Most sports fans.
Yeah, actually, the numbers are down. Numbers are down since 2014. 10 years ago, the numbers are down across the country because these.
That's a good one, Yehuda.
Crime-ridden cities.
Lowest homicide
crime-ridden cities.
I love it.
Detroit and their fifth ranked offense according to DVOA versus the Rams' 7th ranked offense according to DVOA. Detroit somehow has a top 13 defense, which I don't understand according to DVOA. But these two defensive teams are solid against the run, but like atrocious against the pass. Sets up for an awesome matchup and an exciting matchup where the team coming in to Detroit can maybe pull off the upset with, I think, the better quarterback and just skill position, fantasy football players galore. Like this game is just, it should be so high flying and so exciting. Like you said, even if you don't care about the Stafford Goff storylines, I think it's going to be really cool to see. And I just have this feeling that like Dan Campbell's going to go for something that's like a little risky, but like that's how he's been living all year. And like, it's all going to come down to that. I think, I'm giving away kind of who I'm picking in this game, but I think that there's going to be some risky thing that he's going to go for. That's just, it's just not going to work out. And like, it may end up costing them their season.
Oh, Dan Campbell.
So, the question is
Dan Campbell for the win.
Yeah.
That's it.
Actually,
is this a home for Matthew Stafford?
This is Stafford on the road technically because he's in Detroit.
Stafford's on the road every week. Stafford's on the road every week.
Time. I know. Yes, in 29 out of 30 stadiums, or whatever it is, 31 out of 32 stadiums, Matthew Stafford is on the road. The only stadium he's not on the road in
Detroit.
could possibly be Detroit. They might be silent for him. I'm serious. He might actually, when he like waves the crowd to like get
This is the
quiet, you can't hear
playoffs.
it. They might actually.
This is the playoffs. This is the Lions. It's the first
What?
time winning the division in 1,000 years. They're not.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They're gonna be so fired up. These fans. Oh my gosh. There's no homicide anymore. Why do you think there's no homicide? They're so fired up.
They might be some of the lamest. They might be some of the lamest fans I've ever seen. It happens to be. I've never came
No
across
homicide.
Lions
Wait.
and
Lowest homicide rate since 1960 sounds like some of the
Since the
best
60s,
fans.
yeah.
Best fans. Since 60s. Anyway. So you're saying Stafford will be at home?
So I think Stafford. I think this could be a little bit of a home game feeling for Stafford, and we know he plays better at home than he does on the road. I think Jared Goofy's not going to show up. It's too prime time for him. It's too much pressure for a guy like that. You don't call him Goofy for nothing. Call him Goofy forever because he cost me a Super Bowl. That would have been nice. But other than that, I really don't see the Lions. Also, Laporta's injured; he might not play. There's too many things. Laporta Padius.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Huge.
Big deal. He's huge. What do you mean, big deal?
No, it is a big. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, I thought you're saying big deal. Like, oh, it's not.
No. I'm not being sarcastic. That's a big deal. He's been a huge weapon for him this year.
I'm saying like the Rams are clicking. Like the Rams have their pieces. The Rams should be able to come. I think.
Yep.
The Rams are going to win this game.
I agree with you. I'm with the Rams, and I'll tell you another reason I'm picking the Rams is because I want to see Rams Niners next week. I want that.
Yeah.
Who you got?
CJ Gardner-Johnson may be back for the Lions, which would be interesting because he would definitely help out their defense. But I do think Jared Goff shows up. I don't think he's very Jared Goofy tonight or on Sunday night, but missing Sam Laporta is going to be very big, and Matthew Stafford is going to start out poorly, I think, because his mind will be swirling coming back to Detroit for the first time and all these emotions and having to manage like playoff game and coming back. And I don't want to disappoint my fans, but like to end the Lions season, this place that I called home, like it's just a lot, and it might be hard for him to quiet the nose at first, but then he's going to lock in, and Sean McVay is going to scheme up some good stuff against this poor Lions defense. Ben Johnson is going to scheme up some great stuff against the poor Rams defense, and I think it should be a fun, exciting shootout. And I think in the end, these more experienced Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, and then maybe we see if Puka shows up. But these experienced players, these guys have won a Super Bowl. It does matter, and it will show up for them versus the Lions team that has a great future, and I'm excited for the Lions' future, and I love Dan Campbell. Again, he needs to coach there for the next 20 years, but I think the Lions do get bounced in their first playoff game in like 30 years. But at least they made the playoffs. This is, it's progress.
12 wins, win the division. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
And I listen. I still don't think the Lions have a top-notch roster. So the fact that they were able to do this was pretty impressive with also not a top-notch quarterback. So they can add more playmakers, add some more, depth on the defensive side, and we're talking about a pretty darn good team in Detroit. So, yeah. So we're all picking the Rams. Look at that. And in a game where Detroit's actually favored by 3, they're at home, granted, but pretty interesting.